Welcome back, everyone. Today, I want to dive into the student loan crisis. This is a TikTok video that has gone viral on X and on TikTok. And I think it really is a testament to not only the economic problems Gen Z is facing right now, but also just some fundamental problems with how we think about debt and how we think about student loans. I'll play it and then we can dive into it.
Loans that I've been paying $1,500 a month for 2 years have a 17% interest rate. So
Okay, because it's kind of hard to hear in between her sobs. She has said she's been paying for 2 years $1,500 a month for her student loans at 17% interest. I don't know how she financed her education. Most federally backed student loans are, I think, under 8%. Mine are 3.4 to like 6.8, I think. But I know they've gone up since I was in college. If you have double-digit student loans, you probably have private student loans. So that's part of the problem here.
what I thought I've been paying off for all this time, I'm actually, I owe more than what I started off with. What the fuck? So, Jeff Bezos, this would be a really cool fucking time to Venmo me, bro. I owe $90,000, and I didn't even spend that much on school.
So I think anyone is kind of confused on the math here. So she has $90,000 in loans. She says she didn't spend that much on school. She has a 17% interest rate, and she's been paying $1,500 a month in her monthly payments. And she's pleading with Jeff Bezos to Venmo her. She actually left her Venmo in the description of her video, hoping that someone might actually Venmo her.
Person, please tap in. Kourtney Kardashian, you probably have 8 houses. I'm never gonna be able to buy one because I went to college. I just signed up to be an egg donor. Guess what? Got approved. Who wants my fucking kids? I can't afford them, so start a bidding more. Just fucking take them. What do you want? My left arm too? What the fuck am I supposed to do? I'm gonna be in debt for my whole fucking life. How does that even make sense? I signed up for this shit when I was 17.
Okay, I empathize. I was 17 too when I went to college and signed up for my first student loans. I do think it is predatory and borderline criminal to give debt like this to students, especially juveniles who are financially illiterate. And I did some background on her. I'm not gonna say where I think she's from because I want to protect her privacy because she hasn't disclosed that on her TikTok. But I would suspect she's probably first or if not second generation. I was first generation in college, so her parents may or may not have been able to help her navigate how to take out student loans, what it actually meant. So I do have a lot of empathy for people who have taken student loans. My position is I think we do need some sort of debt jubilee or amnesty for student loan borrowers. Obviously, best case scenario, wipe everyone's debt clean. I know that's not politically feasible or pragmatic. So a better solution would be to give 0% interest on loans that were made for undergraduate students. So federally funded undergrad loans, zero out the interest on that. That way the students and the borrowers are still accountable to repaying the principal balance, but they're not being hemorrhaged with massive interest payments. Because I think that is, and she kind of talks about this as 17%. I think that's a huge problem. Now, the line I draw on that is if you went to a graduate school program, you absolutely should not have your debt wiped away. I empathize with 17-year-olds, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, people who don't know any better, might not have come from financially illiterate families, have literally no idea what they're doing. Okay, I'm empathetic. You're underage. I mean, we all took out loans before we could legally drink alcohol. Let's face it. That's the reality of it. Okay. Give some sort of amnesty program for those loans. But if you were 23 years old, 25 years old, 26 years old, maybe you worked a couple of years and then you decide to go back to graduate school and you took out loans and you could see all the information right in front of you. I have zero empathy for that. So if you went to law school or whatever and you're drowning in debt, that's kind of on you. So I think there is, I think we need to have a more nuanced conversation about the student loan crisis. I think some sort of amnesty needs to be given. Otherwise, we're not going to have an economy in a couple of years. You need consumers to keep the economy going. And it's clear like folks like her can't, afford to spend in it. I've been, struggling with student loans for more than a decade at this point. A lot of people are struggling with this. So I am empathetic towards her, but I think there's also some accountability that needs to be considered as well.
This should not be legal, bro. I got upset about it at work, and my coworker was like, don't you have like a rich relative who can pay that for you? No, my family's poor. Like, no. And the worst fucking part is, bro, look where I am. Like, I can't go in because I can't spend money, but I just want to like be here because it makes me feel better. So
Okay, there's a lot to unpack here. What she said at the end, she was sitting in the parking lot at TJ Maxx. I, again, can empathize with that. For me in my 20s, a lot of the spending I did was to basically show proof of existence. I went to a lot of coffee shops. I would get takeout all the time. I wasn't doing spending sprees like this, but I was spending money I really didn't have to buy coffees and lattes and go out to eat. And it was because it was the only way that I felt I could exist. Otherwise, I was just a hermit in my apartment. So I get it. I do not blame her at all. We also have a problem in this country with like a lack of public third spaces and free third spaces. It's really hard to not spend money. Almost all of our social activities involve spending money. So there's a lot of problems with this, right? So I think student loans are predatory, and they target young people and financially illiterate. Like I just said, there aren't a lot of third spaces, so it's hard to have social interactions in this country without spending money. And another thing she touched on is about being in debt and how she'll be in debt for the rest of her life. Yes, that is by design. We are all supposed to be in debt for the rest of our lives. There's a fantastic book called Debt, The First 5,000 Years by David Graeber. If you are a nerd like I am, highly recommend reading it. It goes through the history of debt. But one of the things that he talks about in the book is that debt is by design. And one of the reasons why is because debt is a mechanism for money creation. And this is a kind of a complicated topic, but imagine that you want to borrow money from me. You come to me and say, hey, Amanda, I want to borrow $10. And I say, okay, here's $10. But because I'm lending you the money, you're going to owe me interest. And we agree on, say 1% interest, right? So at some point, you're going to have to pay me back $10 plus that 1% interest. Well, where does that 1% interest come from? When you charge interest on debt, that is new money creation. So it, in part, also is why we have a lot of inflation right now, because we're in so much debt. There's a correlation there between debt, the supply of money in the economy, and inflation. Of course, the Federal Reserve and monetary policy also plays a role in money creation. I'm not saying this is the only way that money is created, but it is one of the ways that money is created. And debt is people who have debt. So if I have student loan debt, that is a liability. So if you imagine a balance sheet with assets and liabilities, that is a liability. That's something I have to pay back. If you are the bank or the financial institution that holds my student loan debt, that is an asset. It's you have debt on your balance sheet, and every month I pay you. So you are collecting revenue from it. And because I'm paying interest on it, new money that's being created, that interest is pure profit for you. So this is one of the reasons why banks and all that kind of stuff have gotten so wealthy, and why people keep pouring money into debt products, because it's easy cash. You literally do nothing. Like, you're manufacturing money out of thin air. You're not marketing a product. You're not building something. You're not renting cloud storage space for a SaaS product. It's the easiest way to make money. And so that's why the powers that be want you to be in debt. And so the problem is, in the system we have, when you borrow money, there's two things you can do with it. You can borrow money. I can lend you money. You can take it, and you can say, go buy some tools, right? Say you want to start a carpentry side hustle. You can take the money that you borrow from me, go buy tools, start doing carpentry work, generating revenue from your tools that you then use to pay me back. Okay. That's one way. The other way is you can take the money that I have lent you. You can go to the bar, you can spend it all, and then you still have to pay it back to me. But now you don't really have a way to do that. So you have to sell your time in order to pay it back. And the problem is time is finite. Like there's only so much time you can mortgage on your current expenses. So when you spend too much money on the front end, you're mortgaging your future, right? So if you're coming out of school with hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt, you are essentially borrowing from your future self and your ability to work in the future. Now, the problem is there are no jobs for young people. I think the Federal Reserve posted a report earlier this year that Gen Z has a 41% underemployment rate. 41%. Now, underemployment is kind of this gray area between being actually employed and being fully unemployed. It's people who, I think like this woman, based on the research I did, I think she's a server. So she has a college degree, but she's not in a job that is paying a salary commensurate with someone who has a college degree. She's a server. So underemployment, this is an example of that. It's someone who is working a gig, part-time work, freelancing, whatever, but they're not making a full-time income commensurate with what they're expected to make with their full-time degree. And this is the problem we're facing with AI coming online and all the disruption that is heading our way. It's going to be a lot harder for young people and Gen Zers in particular to be able to earn the incomes they need to earn in order to pay back their debts. So this is a huge problem. I'm, not saying that it's any one person's fault. I think there's a multitude of structural problems, individual problems, policy problems. There's just a lot going on with this. And so this is where my stoic mind comes in. And I'm like, okay, there's all these problems. This is the situation you're in. How do you get out of it from here? How do you solve the problem? This is what you have to work with. Where do you go from here? Posting on TikTok and asking Jeff Bezos and Khloe Kardashian to Venmo you, not the solution, not the right answer. So what should you do? What should young people in this situation do? Well, there's a couple things. One, don't waste your time on social media. This is just a total time suck. I was scrolling through her through her page, and I don't know what she does. I don't know how she's trying to improve herself. She just like posts on social media, and it looks like she might be a fitness influencer or trying to be a fitness influencer, but she's just participating in social media like the social media companies want all of us to participate. She's creating user-generated content that they then harvest data and generate advertising revenue on. So stop wasting time doing this. Start figuring out how you can add value in the economy. So if you are Gen Z and you just graduated, I'm sorry, it sucks. You're going to have to start over. You need to learn AI skills, whatever is in demand, whatever people are looking for. You need to learn that. And I'm sorry, your college education did not prepare you for that. It didn't prepare me for reality either. Millennials are in the same boat that you guys are in. And I am totally empathetic with you. And I wish there was something we could do. And I wish the adults in the room had been there to tell all of us what was happening. But no one was. So that's what I'm hoping to do, to be the adult in the room and tell you how it is. It's not going to get better from here. You are the only one who can change your mindset, change your outlook, and start doing things to make it better. So if you're recently graduated, it sucks. You need to figure out AI and figure out how to navigate that economy, figure out the attention economy. You need to figure out how to be your own boss, be your own employer, and monetize whatever skills you have. So it looks like she's into fitness. If I were her, I would immediately be getting her personal fitness, personal trainer certification. I don't care what she did in college, what she studied. I don't care what your grades were. If that's what you're passionate about, that's your skill, that's what you're creating content around, you need to be selling that service. So whatever she's doing, there's personal training degrees. You can like work with like my old apartment building, like once a week had a personal trainer come in. You could take free classes with them, right? Sell it to, you need to sell your services to people who have money. So not consumers like you and I, to businesses. So sell it to HR departments who want to bring in a fitness person to consult with their employees as part of their wellness program. Start working with brands, offer classes around town. There was a influencer I followed when I lived in DC, and she would do that. She was part of Soul Cycle, so she was a Soul Cycle teacher. But then on the side, she started creating her own classes, and she would like lease out space at a studio and teach them. So whatever you need to do, whatever your passion is, get creative and start doing it. Start doing it as a side hustle. I personally would not waste time applying to non-existent ghost jobs that don't even exist. Like, just take initiative and do something for yourself. So get off social media, stop wasting your time. But if you want to be on it, at least figure out how to monetize it. So I would do that. If you're in college and you're watching this, or you're younger and you're going to go to college, drop out immediately. There's absolutely nothing your college professors can teach you to prepare you for the economy that's emerging. They are so far behind the curve. They have not, most of your professors are probably older, so 45 to 65, 70 years old. They have been out of the job market for decades. And if their only career has been in academia, that's all they know. They are sitting in their ivory tower. They have no idea what's going on. The only caveat I would say is if you are on a fully funded scholarship, then stay. By all means, stay. If you're in ROTC, stay. But if you are taking out student debt right now for a college degree that is utterly worthless, you need to drop out. I know it's not popular. I know it's not the cool thing to do. I know you have friends and you want the whole experience, but she's here to tell you, and I'm here to tell you that it's only going to get worse. The longer you are in school and taking out debt, the worse it's going to be. Millennials, you've already seen what's happening. Millennials have put off buying homes, put off starting families. Millennials are struggling. You're not going to be the exception. You're not going to be any different. So if you want a better future for yourself, if you don't want to be crying in a TJ Maxx parking lot because you're paying $1,500 a month on student loans at a 17% interest rate, drop out immediately. Don't look back. The future is going to be AI. Dive into AI, figure out prompt engineering, all that kind of stuff. The other thing is, at some point you have to acknowledge what is, not what ought to be, and take it upon yourself to become financially literate. I, again, empathize. I did not learn any of this in college either. I had no idea. I believed naively that if I just got good grades, I would magically get the career of my dreams. Well, I got good grades, and guess what? No one cared. After I graduated, no one asked me for my GPA. No one asked me for my transcript. No one cared what I studied in college. And when I got a job, I remember my first salaried job out of college, I was working alongside some other folks my age. And there was a guy who I think partied the entire time he was in college. He may have gotten like a 2.8, 2.9 GPA, like average dude, frat bro. And I made the same amount of money as him. Like, we were paid the same salary in our jobs. And that's when it dawned on me, like, oh, GPAs don't matter. Like, no one was giving me special money because I had, a 3.8 GPA. I studied Arabic and had professional fluency in it and all this kind of stuff. No one cared. No one was going to give you more money for that. So they don't care. Do the bare minimum, get what you need. If you need to get a degree as a credential, just do it and get out as quickly as you can, and minimize your debt load, because that's really what matters. That's what employers, they don't care about how much debt you have, where you went to school, unless you went to like a prestigious school like Harvard. They don't care. So you're not going to get rewarded. You're not going to get rewarded for that. I would do what you need to do to learn to be financially literate. Just accept the fact you don't know what you don't know. It's nobody's fault. It's not your fault. It's not your parents' fault. It's not society's fault. It's not capitalism's fault, okay? It just is what it is. So you need to learn personal finances. I myself embarked on this journey about a little over a decade ago when I was 23 and my first job, had no idea how to spend money. My introduction to personal finance was Dave Ramsey. So you can take him or leave him. He's not everyone's cup of tea. But from there, I actually went deep into the personal finance rabbit hole. I ended up becoming a freelance writer for personal finance content creators and was doing some of my own personal finance content for a while. So I'm going to strongly encourage you not to follow personal finance content creators. Don't follow them on Instagram. Don't follow them on TikTok. Most of the people who are peddling personal finance information are doing so in order to sell you something. So a lot of these people earn incomes by promoting credit cards, which come with affiliate links. So anytime you click a link and you sign up for one of the credit cards they promote, they earn a commission. So they're in the business of selling you debt. Other people are also in the business of selling you courses, teaching you how to invest. Let me tell you something. There was one content creator I worked with who created an investing course using ChatGPT. So these people are doing it. There's no reason why you can't teach yourself how to invest. If you want to, that's something you can do. I would say if you're struggling with managing your finances, just get the basics down. Figure out how to start a budget. Figure out how to save an emergency fund because you're definitely going to need it. Figure out how to set a sinking fund and plan for future expenses. And just figure out how to manage your cash flow. Your goal right now as an early 20-something is to bring in more every month than you spend. So if you are spending, say $5,000 a month and you are only earning $3,000, like you're generating debt. You're spending more than you earn and you're mortgaging your future. And the longer you do that, the harder it's going to be to dig out of that. So you want to make sure you have positive cash flow every single month. It's not about comparing yourself to others. It's not about, oh, I want to live in this apartment building, or I want to be able to shop at TJ Maxx but can't afford it. It's reality. It is what it is. So you need to find alternatives. One of my big things was spending money on coffee. And so over time, it took a while, but I've weaned myself off that. So instead of buying lattes every day, I go to a coffee shop maybe once a week or twice a week, and I drink a lot of black coffee. So when I go, I don't even necessarily buy lattes. I will buy, black coffee. One of the things I noticed with this girl, again, I'm not judging her. She's early 20s, so I get it, but she talks about going out a lot and partying and drinking. And so if that's important to you, go spend money on that, but then don't have a crash out and complain that you can't afford your student loans. Like you have to make choices here. This is kind of what being an adult entails. So you have to make hard choices. You can't afford to go out. I'm sorry. It sucks. And honestly, it's not worth it. Like at some point, you're going to grow up and realize, why on earth am I spending $20 for shots of tequila when I could buy, whatever Kirkland version of this at Costco for a fraction of the price? Like you're just going to look at it and be like, huh, what am I doing here? So the sooner you can get to that point, the better off you'll be. Not judging her as well, but I noticed in her video,
so as it turns out,
she looks like she's in a nice car. And again, not passing judgment, but a lot of times people think they're supposed to have certain things and that justifies what they have. And again, I'm speaking from experience. I'm not trying to preach. I'm trying to, this is the advice I would have given my younger self. There's a point in time in my career when I was in Washington, D.C. where I drove an Audi. Could I afford it? No. Did I need it? No. Did I get it because it made me feel good? Absolutely. So I'm looking at her car and it looks kind of nice. It looks kind of nice. So I don't know if it's a brand new car or what. But there's things you can do. Like you have to cut back where you can. So if you're living in an apartment and you don't have roommates, get roommates. Everyone has roommates. Like again, it is what it is. Accept it. It's reality. If you drive a car that is costing you, $700, $800, $900, $1,000 a month and you can't afford the payment, trade it in for something cheaper. I know it sucks. Okay. But you can do that for a couple years, get yourself on your feet, have some stability, and then go back and buy the car you want. Right. So it's just overcoming this instant gratification and just recognizing that your future self will benefit from this. To help you, like I said, don't trust financial influencers, especially ones who are not financially accredited. Okay. A lot of financial influencers are just regurgitating financial information they've taught themselves or they've acquired for themselves, but not through any sort of professional means. They're no better than Google. Okay. They're just passing on information that helps them sell their products and their courses, right? If you want to work with a financial professional, I would recommend a certified financial professional. There's all sorts of them out there. They work with lots of people and some have different budgets to help you with wherever you are in life. So it's not like it's going to cost you an arm and a leg. These people are qualified. They've had to sit through exams and board testing and had to do, service hours to get to where they are. They're doing it because they want to, and they typically have a fiduciary responsibility, which means they have to act in your best interest. So seek out a CFP. when possible. And I would recommend it. I think it would help a lot. But some books I would recommend too if you're just getting started. Read The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. One of the things he talks about in this book that really stuck with me is that our relationship with money is also predicated on the economy that you were born into. So boomers are going to say certain things about the economy and work ethic and how you should spend money, because when they came of age, there was a lot of abundance, and that was what they were accustomed to. Whereas folks like myself, grew up and came of age during the Great Recession. So I have a very different relationship with money. Same with Gen Z. Gen Z is struggling right now. They're in the post-COVID, economic environment. They have a very different relationship with money. So I would read this book because it helps you understand that money isn't just a number in your bank account. There's a lot of thought that goes into it as well. This might not be a popular opinion, but I like Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I think he just lays it out pretty clearly. And I like how he talks about money from a business perspective. And I think that's a good way to look at it. It's not just something you want to earn. It's learning how to leverage money for your own benefit, right? So if you're spending all your time working as a server, making, however much an hour plus tips, like it's going to be really hard to pay off $90,000 worth of student debt, right? But if you're smart about money, figure out how to buy assets and invest and that kind of thing, then it can become easier. You Are a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero. Again, I think money is very psychologically induced, and your ability to make money, especially for yourself, can be impacted by a lot of mental beliefs and roadblocks you have about money. So I think that's a good one. I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. Personally, he's gone a little bit off the rails lately, so I'm not the biggest fan of his. But his book has a pretty good roadmap for how to manage money, things you can do to cut costs. Millionaire by The Millionaire Next Door. Again, I would read that alongside The Psychology of Money. This one was written, I think, in the 90s, but I really like this one because you don't really know how people have money, right? You see people who, this was a thing for me when I lived in Washington, D.C. I worked at a coffee shop right underneath an apartment building. So there's 5+1 buildings. You've probably seen them, but they have 4 levels of housing and then 1 level of retail. And they're really nice apartment buildings. If you've ever lived in one or toured one, they always have like all these amenities and pools and things like that. But they're expensive. They're very expensive to live in. So I remember working in a coffee shop at the retail level of one of those buildings, and I would see people come in after doing tours at the apartment complex, and someone would be my age and they'd be coming with parents, and I would be I'd be kind of jealous, right? Because I was living in Southeast DC, which isn't really a great part of DC, and I was like, I wish I could live in one of these nice apartments and afford them. Well, after reading this book, one thing I realized and I hadn't considered is that money skips generations. So just because you see someone with a new car, someone who, a relative may have paid for their college education, maybe helping them with their day-to-day expenses, you don't really know where that money came from. In some cases, it's the grandparents who are paying. It's not the parents. So people always talk about the bank of mom and dad, but they don't talk about the bank of grandma and grandpa. And so that can shape your perception of what you think you should have based on what your peers have. And you don't know other people's financial situations. So it does no benefit to you to compare yourself to them, right? You can only know what's on your personal balance sheet, what's in your bank account. I use spreadsheets to manage my finances. So you can only know what's on your spreadsheets, right? You can't know what's on anyone else's. So I like that book because it really helped me grasp not to compare myself to others. The last one I would recommend here is Your Money or Your Life by Joe Dominguez and Vicki Robin. This is basically kind of what I was talking about before, where when you take on debt, you mortgage your future. We live in an economy where money is a function of time. So time is money. So you earn money by selling your time. So the game that you have to play is how can you maximize the value of your time? So there's some people who maybe they work in a restaurant, right? And they maximize their value by earning high tips and, $30 an hour. There's others that work at, 1 and 2 star Michelin restaurants, and they're earning a full-time, salary, maybe, 6 figures. So you can start somewhere. Everyone has to start somewhere, but from there you can grow. And the game is to figure out how to maximize your time, how to maximize the value of your time. So if you're not doing that, if you're spending all your time on TikTok posting videos that aren't earning you any money or helping you in any sort of way advance and play the game, you're not going anywhere, right? Your time is being siphoned and wasted. And I do want to caveat this by saying, like, don't fall into hustle culture, because I did that too. And I understand how easy it is to try to monetize every aspect of your life. But the goal is to increase your value, right? And so you want to learn new skills, do new things. Like I said, you can start. I was a server at Waffle House for a while, right? So servers at Waffle House don't make a lot of money, right? But you can also be a server at a really nice restaurant and make way more. I was a server at Waffle House, made, oh gosh, $2.92 an hour plus tips. But then I interviewed here. I didn't end up working there, but I interviewed here at a, similar kind of restaurant in terms of you order food through like the Toast tab system, and then like runners bring it to you. But they paid, with tips hourly during their peak busy season up to $35 an hour. So you can still work in the same industry, food service industry, and there's a whole wide range of how much money you can make. So your game, the goal is to figure out how to make more, okay? And if you're not willing to put in the work or do the things you need to do to figure out how to make more, like that's on you. So I'm sympathetic to this girl where she's at. I understand she doesn't know what she doesn't know. But she has to have that point where she's like, okay, like this is where I was, this is where I am, this is where I'm going, and make moves to go in that direction. And I think some people that's easier to do than others, but you gotta read, you gotta learn, you gotta educate yourself. How Money Works is a really good YouTube channel as well. If you want to check that out, they talk a lot about, not personal finance stuff per se, but just how the economy works and why things are the way they are. But take this as a lesson of what not to do. Like, you can be frustrated. Things are not always going to go your way. But crashing out and posting it on social media and asking for Jeff Bezos to Venmo you is not going to solve any problems. Don't wait for someone to come and save you. Like, take the initiative and do something for yourself and figure out how to get yourself out of debt. I know it's not fun. It's not fun at all. But it's up to each, and this is the operating environment we've been given. Okay. It is what it is. So you need to figure out how to play the game. It's like Monopoly. A lot of people have played Monopoly, but haven't actually played Monopoly or really understand what Monopoly is about. We're playing Monopoly, right? And you have to learn the game for what it actually is and figure out how to play it. And once you do, you'll become, more successful. And the goal, in my opinion, isn't necessarily to become, a high income earner. I think a lot of people have misplaced goals where they just want to become wealthy. The goal, in my opinion, is to be debt free. So not having a lot of debt, having flexibility because you don't have debt. When you don't owe someone $1,500 a month, you don't have to sell your time. Okay. And then when you have your time back, you can go do whatever you want. So you can leave, you can travel, you can start a family, you have a lot more flexibility. So the sooner you understand this and the earlier you are in your life and you understand this, the better off you'll be. So I don't think this girl will ever see this or listen to it. So I hope the best for her. But if you're watching and you are younger, this is all advice I would have given to my younger self. These are things that now that I know this in my early 30s, I wish I could go back and be more disciplined about my latte habit, actually eat rice and beans like Ben or Dave Ramsey recommended. It actually does make a difference. I wish I understood the game more so I could have learned better skills. I didn't do a good job of that, frankly. I did even though I had a language skills and, studied Arabic and that was really hard. Maybe I should have done Chinese. I don't know. I should have learned something else. I should have been more aware of what was happening in the economy and prepared myself for that, not based on what I thought I should do. And so the economy is changing. The jobs you think that are supposed to exist, they don't. They haven't for a while now. It's going to get worse before it gets better. Gen Z in particular is at the forefront of this. I think anyone who's still in college, you're wasting your time. And of course, there's an asterisk to that. Some jobs, if you're going to go be a surgeon or whatever, fine. But if you are taking out debt to go get a college degree that's utterly worthless, consider yourself warned. That's on you. read the room. Millennials have been struggling for years at this point. Older Gen Zers are seriously struggling. It's not going to be any better for you. You're not special. So, take that and really sit with it and think about it. Yeah, this is all stuff I would have told myself. And if you're older, I think some of the same advice still applies. The game isn't to become a multimillionaire. And if you do great, the game is about life. It's about your time. It's about living life to the fullest, recognizing that we all have different roadblocks and barriers that we're going to have to overcome. And that's the challenge of life itself. Approach those challenges as opportunities to test yourself, improve yourself, learn new skills, all that good stuff. Work hard and yeah, make the best of it. I like to say, like, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. And if you don't have any sugar, make lemon flavored water. Like, work with what you've got, right? And see what happens. And so that's just, some wisdom I would pass on to folks like this. I'd be curious to know, honestly, what you think and how you approach, like, situations like this, especially if you are Gen Z and you're watching this. Kind of what's your take on the whole financial situation? What do you think is owed to you by society? And in turn, what are you giving to society that would be commensurate with what you seek? I'd be curious to know what your mindset is and just see how it's different from my own. So thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. And if you like this video, be sure to like it and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.